road to recovery. Whether you like it or not, run the ball more. Present some balance to give some pressure off Roethlisberger.
Emily Kaplan, you just heard all the statistics Jackie McMullen had, but let's just drill down here. They were 11-0 at some point. Can they get back to being a team that could win the close games even if they aren't pretty?
You know, I think that fans tried to at first blame it on the offensive line. They tried to blame it on the run game. But it really comes down to Ben. He's the one that's making it so easy for defenses. Linebackers love dropping into coverage. Safeties love the fact that they don't have to respect his deep pass. And you know what? I'm getting annoyed by Ben's hubris. Like, he was talking to reporters this week, and he said it was phony or overblown to talk about a knee issue. And he said that his elbow was mostly fine. Well, if it is, he wouldn't be playing like this. So, no, I don't think this is fixable, because the only thing that would fix it is time to heal, and that, unfortunately, can't happen until the offseason.
Now, Mike Tomlin says he's going to talk to Juju Smith-Schuster about dancing on logos. Is that something, George, or is that just an easy pinata to hit right now as the rest of the team has real problems?
Yeah, that one is definitely a Captain Obvious moment. Sure, we lost. We're going to blame the young guy because I don't want to put my quarterback on blast even though he's not playing well. And look, the last guy to know if he's still good or not is the aging superstar. When he looks in that mirror, he still sees the guy that won 2 Super Bowls. And that's the case across the board in sports.
Jackie Mack, last word.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying about Juju, but you know what? I've said it a million times. If you want to behave that way and do all those antics, that's cool, but you gotta back it up. And as our own Tony Reale has pointed out, more TikToks than touchdown. Bad work. So you should give yourself points for that, Tony.
What do you want a last word? You can get in there. I bet you have a better joke. Please.
Well, I think they've had a problem with dropping the football, and he's among those guys. I'd be more concerned about that than I would be the logo.
Okay. We'll move on. NBA preview extravaganza. Let's go. Ball night. Tonight, 2 games. Lakers, Clippers, Golden State, Brooklyn. Now, there are some of you people on this very panel who thought the Clippers were going to beat the Lakers last year. Anyone willing to call a self-foul there? Anyone?
No,
yes,
I
did.
Okay, Jackie, I appreciate it. Not you, George. George, I know what you picked. You picked very loudly Lakers and Heat. We got that. All right, Jackie, you'll take your medicine here. But let me ask you, it didn't just happen last year. It didn't not happen. It went down in flames for the Clippers. Anything this year telling you maybe it could be different? Or are the Lakers far and away the best team?
Well, the Lakers are the best team, hands down, and they have the best 1-2 duo in the league in LeBron and AD. Unless Kyrie and Kevin Durant are going to be healthier than I think they're going to be, I still think the Lakers are the best team. But does that mean I don't think the Clippers have the chance? That's where I'm going to part company with everybody else, I guess. I still think, on paper, the talent the Clippers have should put them in the conversation. Now, does Paul George look in that mirror that George Sedano was talking about and say, I had the worst time of my career. I completely imploded in the playoffs. I'm going to be better. I've signed an extension. I'm going to be the all-NBA player I should be. I know Kawhi Leonard already thinks that about himself. So I like Serge Ibaka as an ad for the Clippers, but I love Marc Gasol with the Lakers because when he starts playing Woody's Denver Nuggets, you got someone to body up with Jokic. Lakers is still the best team.
George, this is 100% your account. I mean, you're dealing with this every single day on the radio. The Clippers, where they left off, it's been, I guess, 2.5, 3 months for them to cleanse themselves. Can they possibly turn it around this season? Or are the Lakers that much better than everybody else?
The Lakers are still the overwhelming favorite, Tony. Last year, they had 2 top 5 guys. Nobody else could boast that. They still have that, and now their supporting cast is better. However, I do think the Clippers match up well against them, as we saw last year, because they got 2 guys, in theory, that can try to slow down LeBron James. No other team has that. I like the Ibaka addition, as Jackie mentioned. I think he's an upgrade over Montrezl Harrell because he can stretch the floor, and he's a better defender and deterrent at the rim. But the thing for the Clippers, yes, Paul George needs to look at himself in that mirror, as Jackie said. But you know what? A championship team needs to sacrifice. So if you're Lou Williams, Pat Beverly, all these other guys who were complaining about Kawhi and Paul George and preferential treatment, you need to find other ways to affect the game in order for you and your team to become champions.
Whew. All right, so I've heard from Sedano and I've heard from McMullen. There is a but there, though. They're calling the Lakers the best, but they still believe in the Clippers after everything we've seen. Woody Page, I turn to you now.
Well, Jackie, I have great respect for you as a Hall of Famer. George, not so much. I don't think you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. But for both of you to just tell me that the Clippers are in the same class with the Lakers added, not only did they add Gasol that you were talking about, but to get Schroeder, to get Matthews, And to do what they did during the offseason, they've not only extended their bench, but they've improved the quality around the basket with those guys. I just think that when you talk about the Clippers, they went out and got a new coach, but really, is that going to make a difference in this series? I don't think so. The Lakers should be far and away the number one choice in the Western Conference.
And Emily Kaplan.
I think that the Clippers have the secret weapon, and that is weaponizing the uncertainty about Kawhi Leonard's future. I loved the way that Kawhi Leonard spoke yesterday when he was completely candid. It's like, you know what? I probably am going to decline my player option in a year if I'm healthy. And, the reason he signed a short-term deal with his team is he wanted to keep them uncomfortable. He wanted to keep them on their toes. And that's important for Ty Lue. I hope he leans into that as he creates a whole new offense around him. And I hope this team leans into this us against the world mentality, because let's face it, all of us have been dragging them through the mud since their stinky bubble performance. And they're still a damn good team that won 49 to 72 games last year.
A lot of Clipper love from this panel continues to be. We'll talk about the other game now tonight. Brooklyn got the glimpse of Kevin Durant in exhibition, and he looked good. This team also has, checks notes, Kyrie Irving, burning sage. NBA GMs predicting Brooklyn will finish second in the East behind Milwaukee. Where are your expectations, Emily Kaplan?
The issue with the Nets was never about their talent. It was always about their health. And what we've seen from KD so far is that, hey, he looks great. They're probably going to be a top 5 offensive team. The problem is I don't think they're going to be a good defensive team because KD's their only elite defenseman, and that could doom them in the playoffs.
Jackie McMullen?
Brooklyn's an interesting team. They could compete with the 1-2 punch of AD and LeBron if they can stay healthy all through the year. Now, Kyrie Irving, as in his career, has averaged about 53 games a season. He just hasn't been able to play that full 82. If he can, maybe that works. But, Milwaukee's fantastic. They have the reigning MVP. They added Jrue Holiday. I'm not going to dismiss them completely. But I do think that the Nets, to me, are the most intriguing team in the entire NBA. It's must-see TV every single night.
George Sedano?
Tony, to me, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be the best team in the regular season, except this is the thing. In the playoffs, we know they're not built to win. As long as Giannis Antetokounmpo can't hit a jump shot, okay, with consistency, they're not capable of winning.
You like Brooklyn
playoffs.
over Milwaukee?
The Nets have the more top-tier talent. Kevin Durant, if he's healthy, like Jackie mentioned, and Kyrie, if he's healthy, they are the best team because they're the most top-heavy team. They've got good players that they can roll out as far as their supporting cast is concerned. Particularly on offense, they're going to be really strong. There are some questions on defense, but even though I think the Eastern Conference, you look at those top 6 teams, you probably put them in a bowl. I can pick them all out in different orders, and I would agree that the regular season standings may look like that, but at the end of the day, Brooklyn is the best team on paper.
Wow. So, this is after not playing one game together. You had them already being the best team in the Eastern Conference. Just think back
wins in this
to how
league.
that played out for the Clippers last year when you had a duo who hadn't played together. Woody Page, you're laughing. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm laughing at George. He used the word "if" about 8 times in this conversation.
Woody's on fire today.
And if frogs had wings, they wouldn't bump their butts all the time. So why in the world
take your word
would
for that.
one guy who hadn't played in 560 days, the other guy played only 50 games last year, they're developing chemistry, they're developing whether or not their health's going to be any good, and you're just putting down Milwaukee Bucks who has a situation now where Holiday in. You're talking about a guy that's going to average 22 points. You want to put a duo out there?
George wants to
Giannis
respond to you,
and
Woody, at the
Holiday?
horn. Let's do it.
Jrue Holiday is a very good player. He's a one-time All-Star. We make fun of Paul George, who's a 6-time All-Star and couldn't get it done. Jrue Holiday is not a good enough addition to help Milwaukee get over the hump, and Giannis still needs to hit a jump.
All right, some cleanup here on aisle panel, I guess. Kyrie Irving did play 20 games last year, Woody. Woody, you had Schroeder. He's playing Christmas Time. He's here on the piano instead of a Schroeder. And then now I've been waiting on this one. Emily Kaplan's going to lose some points here. She used a word that's banned. Also, she used defenseman. Defenseman. Real quick, MVP picks and Rookie of the Year picks. Let me hear them. George, Jackie, yell them out. Instagram. They were posted by a woman he was with at the club. The football team says they're handling it internally. This is not a good look, of course, for Haskins. Is it something more, George?
Well, it's completely irresponsible for obvious reasons, Tony. But what I would say, it's also irresponsible in regards to his team and his teammates. Alex Smith is still dinged up. Their backup quarterback is Taylor Henneke, who played in the XFL. And, this was something that Urban Meyer alluded to when he came out into the draft, that the maturity could be an issue.
Woody Page?
Yes, I'm selling him and his irresponsibility there. But the good thing for the Washington football team is Alex Smith is going to be able to come back, and Haskins can just sit at the end of the bench or be inactive.
Emily Kaplan?
I'm selling that he's going to be on the roster next season. The coaching staff already gave up on him and wanted to trade him. He's only starting because the other two guys are ahead of him. This is his second COVID violation. This one particularly egregious because they could clinch the division this week, and it's a potential revenge game for his coach. How does he get back?
And Jackie, are you with Emily here that this is his end of his run with Washington?
I think there's a good chance for it. And in that piece of film you showed with the big C on his chest, I'll tell you, one of the first things I'd be doing this week, I'd take that C right off his chest. He's not befitting of the captain of my football team.
Buy or sell two. Tony Dungy on Dan Patrick this morning.
Dan, I am worried about the Chiefs. I really am. I think they're bored. I think they're playing with fire. I think they feel like they can do whatever they want to do.
AFC playoff picture change with Pittsburgh free-falling, but hey, Buffalo is surging this week, and everybody else wins every week but never clinches a playoff spot. Woody, are the champs playing with fire, like Dungy says?
No, if that's the kind of fire that they're with, I'm all about it, because if you remember in the postseason last year, they got behind Houston 21-0 in the first quarter. They got behind Tennessee. They got behind in the Super Bowl. They're accustomed to coming back in games and playing close games. It doesn't matter. They still look like they're on fire to me.
Emily Kaplan.
When it comes to the Chiefs, honestly, I feel like we're just running out of things to talk about with them. They're 22-1 over the last 13 months, 8-0 on the road this year, 4-5 in red zone touchdown drives this year. Yeah, they play with fire, but it also takes fire to play against them and beat them. You have to score more than 30 points, which most teams can't do.
Jackie McMullen.
The hardest thing in all of sports to do is to repeat as champion. And why is that? Because you get complacent. You do get bored occasionally because of your own greatness. To me, I've never considered that something that you can't overcome. Unlike flipping a switch for other athletic endeavors, to me, this is different. These guys, I'm not worried about them at all.
I recognize everyone is, if you had a chance to bet, you're going to bet on Mahomes. Even though, like I said, Buffalo is surging recently.
100%.
But it's 6 straight
they're
one-possession wins, George. What do you see with that?
Tony, I can't believe we're docking them points here because they're winning close games. They're still won 22 of 23. And if anything, winning in those close games shows, hey, you know what? If we get in those situations, we've been there before. We know how to react in those spots.
Nobody's biting on that. We'll move on. Stop me when this next one sounds believable. Signs of tension between Harden and Rockets teammates. Stop. Shams Charania on The Athletic. Sources telling Charania Harden and rookie Deshaun Tate had a heated exchange during Monday's practice, culminating in Harden throwing the ball in Tate's direction. While that's allegedly happening, the Heat allegedly pulling out of the Harden talks. Jackie, what to buy, what to sell?
I never thought the Heat was a great fit with Harden anyway. They check your body fat like every 4 days. How do you think that's going to go with James Harden? So I never thought that was a great fit. No, honestly, that's just the truth of it. Harden's unhappy. If I'm the Rockets, I'm doing just what I'm doing. I'm going to hang on to him until I think it's the right time to trade him, and I'm going to get what I need
Emily
for him.
Kaplan.
I'm buying that this is a topic we're going to be talking about on this show for the next 20 weeks. Harden's going to continue to be petulant. They're going to continue to shop him, and the asking price is too high. Tony will talk about it next time.
Woody Page.
I'm buying that around the horn doesn't check our body fat. I think that Harden, that the rookie Tate should stay out of it with Harden. He's the guy that could be traded in a day or two, but they're not going anywhere with Houston. Nobody's going to make the kind of deal they want. He's going to be there till the trading deadline. He's just going to have to put up
George
with it.
Dono.
I'm selling all of it, Tony. I'm selling that the Heat have completely lost interest. They may have disengaged, but I could see them re-engaging for the right price. And here's the thing, Jackie, it's every 3 days. Every 3 days they test the body fat in Miami.
See, George, that's why you are allowed to do their games. Look at you. You fit the bill.
Emily, Jackie, I believe this is the last show for you for the year. We'll see you in 2021. Woody Page, are you making a run to get into the Tournament of Champions? Is there still a shot? We'll see. Page, Sedano, showdown next.
Close, I hear.
All right, and then Marcus, I'm leaning forward as I ask you this one. Sam Darnold, starting or sitting next year?
Starting, G, and starting because of things that we've seen transpire not only from Sam Darnold having talent, but what we see in Cleveland right now. Baker Mayfield was thought to not get a fifth-year contract. I thought he was an average to below average quarterback. Definitely not playing that way, and it's a coaching change. We all know what needs to go on in New York, and we talked about drafting a quarterback. But even still, I believe Sam Darnold highs have given him a chance for a team, especially him being young, to say, hey, we want to see if we can get this guy to reach his full potential and put him in a position that we think will work for him. Because since the Jets got healthy on the outside and this team is continuing to scrap, Sam Darnold has looked pretty good in the past couple games this year with his talent, being able to throw the rock, and we know the athleticism is there as well. He'll be a starter next year.
Graziano, quickly, with Cincinnati winning last night, the Jets are now assured of either the first or second pick in the draft. So assuming it isn't first, which would be Trevor Lawrence, do we have any sense yet as to what they plan to do with that, with Justin Fields potentially sitting there available?
Not really, because we don't know who's going to coach the team yet, and whoever they bring in as head coach, assuming they do make that move, will have input on this decision, whether it's stay put at 2 and take Justin Fields, or Zach Wilson from BYU, who's playing tonight in the Boca Raton Bowl on ESPN. That's a guy that could factor into that. Or stick with Darnold. Darnold is 6 months younger than Joe Burrow. Like, it's not crazy to think that there's growth potential there, and that having 2 first-round picks and 5 picks in the first 99 could help them build something around him. So we have to see who the coach is and what decisions they make about how to proceed at that position, starting with their evaluation of Sam Darnold.
They could pick up his fifth-year option, which would mean they'd control him for the next 2 years. Jeff Saturday, why are you shaking your head?
I'm going to try to give you some hope, Greeny. I know that your heart is broken after this last weekend. I don't know what these two clowns are talking about. Let me tell you about Sam Darnold in his 36 starts in the NFL. 37 interceptions, 20 fumbles, which he lost 7 of. Hey, he loves his completion percentage. He just don't care what team he's throwing it to. You know what I mean? So when you have this thing, I'm not worried about the upside. Can he throw it? Absolutely. He's athletic? Absolutely. I'm not sure if he's colorblind, but look, we play for the green team, man. Like, let's keep it on our side. That's what I care about. Offensive linemen want you to protect the freaking ball. That's all I care about. I don't care how good you can be in 10 years. I want you to protect the ball today. I don't know what Swagoo and Dan are talking about. My goodness, you ain't going to take Justin Fields if he's there?
Jeff,
you better get out of here, Swagoo.
We just watched it happen. We're watching it happen right now, Jeff Saturday. We're watching it happen in Cleveland right now. We're watching Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee. New system, new scheme, better player. Like, I'm coming around. You know me. I love to be negative and be like, get Sam Darnold the hell out of there and find the next best thing. You know me as well as anybody. Man, but when I look at the things that transpired in the league, I got to pay attention to what's happening, Jeff. Stefanski got Baker Mayfield looking real good for the Cleveland Browns right now.
Listen, he got him looking good, Swagoo. He got him looking good because they can run the freaking rock. My problem with you is Dan Orlovsky done got to you, bro. He texted you or said something. That $100 has changed you, man. You got to protect the football.